He is Google's head of DoD policy. Please welcome Kevin Mulligan.
How y'all doing? We'll give this a, let's see if, do I need to drag it over? Yep, okay. 1 second. There it is. All right, we're going to talk about careers. Why is there a Formula One race car up on the screen? Where are my race car driver fans? Anybody? We got one? Any others? Another? So this is the McLaren racing team, Formula One, so completely unrestricted. We're not talking NASCAR where we've got horsepower limitations and weight limitations. This is gloves off, go fast, unrestricted racing. McLaren was kind of a middle-of-the-pack team. They were finishing, low in the points. They were struggling as a team. They're trying to justify their spend. And so they needed to make a fundamental shift to adopt new technologies to improve the team's performance so they could keep their sponsors. So they created a digital twin of their vehicle. A digital twin, think of it like the plans that you draw for your house. You can imagine it in 3 dimensions. This is a virtual replica of the car. It's in the cloud, and now you can run AI optimization models against that digital twin to refine the design, to refine the way that your team interacts, to refine the way that you drive that car, and ultimately to squeeze every ounce of speed out of every drop of fuel. Before a race, they will run 300 million simulations of the car on the track with the environmental conditions that they anticipate based on the driver that's actually driving the car. So they know, does he have a heavy foot? Is he a little overly aggressive in the turns? How does he do when he wears out the tires? Is he riding the clutch? What are the issues? What are the variables that we need to consider with this car that's going to impact its performance? They do it in real time. So you may have seen the Grand Prix in Spain 2025 just this last weekend. So the team, the car, is actually in Spain. The team is back in England. And they're getting this feed in real time, and they're watching the driver, and they are 5 laps ahead of that car. And they are sending advice to the pit, to the driver in real time. Take this turn a little bit faster. Be on the gas now, be off the gas here. There are issues with the track conditions, etc. Hey, the winds are picking up. The temperature of the track on this corner is a little bit high, and so your tires are going to act like this. Giving real-time, anticipating the conditions of the car so that the driver optimizes the performance of the car at every segment of the track, constantly ahead of the pack. Now, we're all worried about what AI is going to do to our job, right? The pit crew is integral to this game plan. You still need to fill it with gas. You still need to change the tires. You still need to make adjustments on the airfoil so the aerodynamics are optimized. When that car comes into the pit, unlike every other team on the track, the pit crew knows exactly what to do. There is no guesswork in what their move is going to be. They know what pressure they need the tires to be in. They know how much gas to put in. They know which airfoil to tweak to optimize the performance of the car so that ultimately it goes faster than anybody else. Oscar, he outpaces his teammate by 0.2 seconds, and the real-time analytics allow them to avoid accidents and ultimately to win the race. First and second. You can see up here that they've been using AI to optimize the way that the team operates, taking them from a mid-tier team to top of the leaderboard, 1 and 2. if you use that vignette as a frame for how AI is going to transform the workforce, it's not, you notice that we didn't talk about replacing anybody. We didn't talk about jobs being lost, and we didn't talk about positions being relegated to no longer relevant. They were all hyper-relevant. They were all hyper-focused. They were all super efficient. And so they squeezed every amount of performance out of every member of the team, which allowed that car to go just a little bit faster and win that race by 0.2 of a second. That is what we're talking about with AI. We are talking about optimizing human performance and squeezing efficiency out of every single person, especially when you consider the public sector with flat budgets, flat or declining headcount, and expectations that are exceeding, capabilities at current. You think about all the manual processes, all the unstructured data. Think of how many times you write your name, your birthday, your social security number every time you go to the doctor's office. And then you hand that piece of paper to somebody, and they take that and they type it into a computer, and they replicate that, and the transposition errors and all those challenges. How inefficient that is. How much more efficient can we be as a human race if we allow AI tools to enable us to be more successful? The comment that I've heard that I think really resonates is that I'm not afraid of AI taking my job. I'm afraid of somebody who knows how to use AI better than me taking my job. And if we approach it that way, then we have an onus on ourselves. We can own our destiny by becoming more literate with the AI tools that are available to us, and ultimately make ourselves more competitive in the workplace than we would otherwise be. We've been at AI for a bit at Google. You have been engaging with AI constantly, and it's almost transparent to you. You think about the text that you type and the word recommendations that you get. You get spell check that's already looking at the words that you've spelled and giving you recommendations. We've now incorporated AI into our search so that we can now have more engaged and informed search experiences. We have been leading in this industry as a global leader for years. And so we see this new momentum, this new era of American innovation as kind of an awakening of the broader public to some of the AI tools that we've been using for years. You can see it in our maps. You can see it if you drove here today, you probably used Google Maps or you used Waze, and it was looking at traffic and it was telling you the best route to go. AI enabled. You think about search and the movement of data across the internet, it's AI enabled and optimized to ensure that your search results and your cat videos get uploaded as quickly as possible, right? 500 hours of YouTube gets uploaded every minute. Think about the use of AI to look for deepfakes, copyright, profanity, hate speech. Scanning that video in just the time that you've clicked to upload it, and now make it readily available. The AI has been there behind the scenes driving the show for years. Now we're bringing Gemini into your pocket, into your phone, improving your user experience and making it more readily available for you. And these tools ultimately are helping us become more productive. You see it in Workspace, where your collaboration tools are now enabled by AI. And we'll get into, the reason I bring this up is not as a marketing campaign, but more to make you aware of, like, these tools are readily available. And in this highly fragmented and competitive market where AI appears to be everywhere, it becomes really confusing about which tool do I want to use, which tool can I trust, and which tool ultimately is going to have the longevity. Some of us are old enough to remember the dot-com boom bust, and we knew that there were companies that really grew and thrived, and there were others that absolutely did not. I think people are viewing AI kind of in a similar way. Which ones are real and which ones are not going to have an enduring presence? I can tell you that businesses are taking notice. Whether you're talking retail or technology and innovation, AI is being incorporated into all of it. And so when you think about it from an employer perspective, you want a workforce that is comfortable using AI tools so that you can squeeze every penny of value out of every service or object or widget that you're selling or service, so that your margins can be maximized, so that your profits can be maximized. So as you contemplate AI as a worker, as a potential employee, know that every employer out there across the market, no matter what sector you're focused on, is seeking to use AI tools to optimize their business and ultimately increase the performance of their workforce to achieve their growth strategies. So we at Google, we're trying to make this available to everyone. And I think you'll see, as you evaluate the landscape of AI providers, Google differentiates itself because of its openness. And you'll see that its tools are more interoperable and ultimately are integrated into the other tools and services that Google provides. So what does that mean for the workforce? For the workforce, the onus is to make sure that you have the right tools, the right skills that you can apply at the right time that meet the objectives of your employer or your mission owner, and ultimately make you competitive and a valued asset to the team. Again, I'm not worried about AI taking my job. I'm worried about someone who can use AI better than me taking my job. This is really at the crux of the theme, right? Be more efficient, save time, do more with less, get more done, solve harder problems. This is what we're seeing. The workforce ultimately is going to need to be reskilled. We anticipate about 43% of the workforce is going to need to be reskilled, to become more familiar with these tools. And ultimately, we're seeing that 63% of employees that are using AI are finding themselves to be more productive. I can tell you, as a government affairs, public policy for defense, what am I worried about? The National Defense Authorization Act, 1,500 pages of legislation, all the amendments, all the budget tables, all the references. I can put that into Notebook LM. I can have the AI reference all of those, and I can ask it questions. And in just a matter of minutes, I have synthesized out of that 1,500-page document and all of the references everything that I need to know to act on, so that I can then go inform my team of what our priorities are, and ultimately we can start addressing those challenges in what would have taken months of reading through the 1,500 pages and segmenting out all the different data points and tagging those. And think of like the Post-it note challenge that we've all had before, right? Where you're trying to tag in a document where that reference is. AI is enabling you to not only synthesize that data, but then ground it in the root of trust of the documents that you used as sources, and now you can quickly reference those and glean the information out of it that you're looking for. Bold, responsible, together, AI, right? Our AI principles are ultimately foundational in anything that we provide. And so I can tell you from Google DeepMind that makes the frontier models for Google, ultimately bringing those to Google Cloud and vetting them and putting them through what we call dog food. We eat our own dog food before we send something into production, that we make sure that the bias, the potential that is inside of that AI is removed, that we've tested it, stress tested it. Because when we roll out an AI tool, unlike some of the smaller companies where their reach may not be far, where an incident that might be 1 in a million, for Google, 1 in a million is a real outcome because of the billions of users that we have. And so there is an onus on us and at top of mind at all times that we remove any bias or any failures out of that system before it goes live. So we talked about productivity in workspace, with Gemini now being incorporated into it. I talk about this not to advertise necessarily for Gemini, but to show you that it's not hard. It is not mysterious. It's not voodoo magic, although I would say some of the software engineers behind the scenes, they really do some magical programming to make these tools work. But the user interface makes it so approachable that I'm not a technologist. I'm just a user of technology. I'm a consumer of technology. I'm not the one writing the code, but I can use it to accelerate my performance, advance my skills, and ultimately be more efficient. We see that you're starting to get recommendations on how to draft emails. You think of the responses and some of the toil that AI is able to address. With these tools, you're able to generate content that would take you time. It's not intellectually challenging for you to necessarily write a response, but it just takes you time. If that tool can help you write a response faster, you can skim it, refine it, edit it, personalize it, and send it. Well, that just took less time. You can now move on to your next task. The other thing that I mentioned Notebook LM, and we start talking about agents, and we'll talk about how this is ultimately going to help boost our productivity and just something for everyone to be familiar with. Each one of these agents, if you think about your function, your policies, your standard operating procedures, your templates, your documents that you reference on a regular basis, in some cases, if you're somebody working in federal acquisitions, think of the depth and breadth of the FAR, of the Federal Acquisition, the regulations, right? Volumes. You can take all of those references and create a virtual agent. You can create a virtual contracting specialist that can rapidly reference any regulation in seconds. And so you can ask it by simply typing a question into the search bar, and it will go into those references. And different from some of the other tools that are out there, Gemini and Notebook LM will only reference your documents. It's not going to go out to the broader internet and hallucinate and give you answers that you're not looking for, that aren't grounded in your truth. It's going to only reference your documents. So the agent becomes an extension of your brain. It's not necessarily replacing you, it's making you more efficient. What we also have announced at Google I/O was agent to agent. So now imagine your federal acquisitions regulation agent is going to talk to your contract specialist that has all of the proposals for a competitive bid. Let's say you have 20 of them and you want to compare those 20 against the federal acquisition regulations and sort of what your RFP said, and you want to rapidly find and score all of the proposals so that you can get to the business of actually contracting and actually doing the work that you set out to do. Rather than the toil of doing the selection, like, let's get to work. Agent to agent is going to help us do that. Again, not a technologist. You're not writing code. You're not expected to write code, but your familiarity with these tools, it's incumbent on you to be familiar with these tools to make you more competitive in the workspace, to ultimately see the vision of how it can make you more efficient and effective as a team member. If you want to learn more, there are courses for AI Essentials. I would encourage you to take a look. They're approachable, they're easily digestible, and what they will do is they will demystify this thing called AI and make it more relevant, approachable, and absorbable for you as a consumer of that technology. You can also, I know the previous speakers had a service that was for, you had to pay for it, but we have a thing called Career Dreamers. It's a Google search. It is free. Career Dreamers will take you on a journey based on the inputs that you put into it. You can talk about the job that you currently have. You can talk about the skills that you have. And you can start searching for jobs that may be relevant for you. Each one of these were, I will admit, I put my own information in here, so this would be my journey. But your journey would be for you. And each one of these, when you hover over it, it will give you an explanation of what is that job. It will give you a link to learn more about that job. You can take that search down a rabbit hole and you can say, what skills do I need for this job? Am I qualified for this? If not, what courses would I need to take to become qualified for this job? It will take you on that journey, and it will tell you not only the courses. So here, if I wanted to do this particular job, I might need a PMP, and here's a link to go get that project management professional certification. I may not have known that I needed that, and I may not have known where to go to find that resource if I did know, but now it's right at my fingertips. It takes me straight to this site. I can sign up for the course. I didn't have to write any code. This took me 3 minutes to do. It didn't take a whole lot of time for me to get to this point in the journey. I can go back and say, okay, I get my PMP. What does that mean for pay? What does that mean for jobs? What jobs are actually available? It brings up links to job postings that are available, searching for the certifications that I have, the talent that I have. Here's the demand for my talent in the workplace. Takes me to the link. Here's the job posting. Again, I didn't have to go searching for these jobs. I didn't have to go on USA Jobs and filter and look for a job posting. That soul-sucking experience that many of us have gone through. It took me straight there. Okay, so now I like that job. I want it. I'm going to apply. Now I'm going to get ready for the interview. Let's go through some interview prep questions. This is a common question. What do I expect in the interview process? I don't know. What questions could they ask? This will help me get ready to put my best foot forward to land that job. Who's using it? Everybody's using it. We talk about companies. So as you look through this, we'll just look at some examples of companies that are using AI and why they're using it. So if you're thinking about a job at Macy's, know that they're going to expect you be familiar with AI tools. What is it doing? What is Workspace doing for you? Minutes saved. I love this one. 105 minutes saved. Just time back in your pocket. The most precious thing that we have as human beings is time. More collaboration, return on investment. This is why companies are doing it. 336% ROI. That sounds pretty good. That one won't build. Developers are also using AI. So as you think about, if you're technically savvy in the crowd and you're writing code, AI is now helping software engineers write code without actually having to write code. You can write in plain language what you want that code to do, and the AI tool will write that code for you and remove the toil of having to write it. That's helping developers push out applications faster, innovate faster, ultimately making their time more productive and getting tools into your hands faster than ever thought possible before. These will not go. Again, just a snapshot. We're talking jobs. Who's using AI? This is an illustrative list, not an exhaustive one. I would just say everyone. is using AI. Your familiarity with these tools is key, not just today, but into the future. And each one of these companies is innovating and accelerating the pace at which they're adopting and utilizing AI to drive profits and growth and ultimately maximizing their bottom line. Going back to our McLaren example, think about the digital twin of that car. Think of all the different pieces and parts that go into that car. You can create a digital twin of your supply chain. You could look at all of your suppliers. You could look at the performance of those over time. You could look at trend analysis. You could look at fragility in your supply chains. You could look at driver performance and human performance and look at what training education might be needed for each person on your team to maximize their performance. You could be looking at how to optimize operations so that you're making the most use of the data that's available to you. It doesn't necessarily matter that you're a racing team. It matters that you're an AI-enabled racing team. Consumer product goods, retail. You're seeing AI being used every day across the board in every industry. It's challenging to get into 20 minutes how much AI is impacting industry. And so I'll leave you with this last slide here, just kind of absorb. And every day that you go into, say, Home Depot, and you get on the Home Depot app, know that behind that is an AI-enabled tool that's helping deliver the thing that you need for doers who want to do things at the speed of relevance. It's AI-driven, and it's an AI engine that is ultimately behind the scenes. So whether you are stocking the shelves, or you are working in the back, or you're on the floor, AI is a tool for those Home Depot teammates that's ultimately helping them be more efficient and effective as a team for the company. Let me pause there and see if there are any questions. All right. Yes, ma'am. Okay. I'll take your question offline because it's a deeper conversation. Any other questions? Okay.
All right. We want to thank one more time and give a warm round of applause for Google's head of Department of Defense Policy, Mr. Kevin Mulligan.